ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। So maybe what we should do is do a short meditation to underscore some of the points that we've been studying. Om Pratarasmarami Shriti Samspuridatmatattvam Satchit Sukham Paramahamsa Gatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptam Avaiti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. In Vedanta, the word meditation or the Sanskrit equivalent called dhyanam has two segments. The first segment is to prepare yourself for the second segment. In the modern example, it is very much like making the adjustments in instrumentation to be able to fly. So the second segment is the actual flying, and the first segment is to make sure you are ready to fly. So the first segment is simply called Dhyanam, which is the overall name, or it can be called Upasana. And the second segment is called Nididhyasana. In the first segment, we have already gone through the elements of it, but they are in Vedanta a simplified form of the Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga steps. And our acharyas have shown a few steps that are very useful. So just going over that. Probably an important one is Sankalpa. And the Sankalpa means a clear instruction to your own mind as to what you are doing or what you are about to do. And that Sankalpa should be to tell your mind, listen, I am going to think about the person that I am that is playing the roles. There is enough time during the day to play the roles and to think about the roles. But during this time, I am not involved with the roles. I just want to see the person that I am who's playing the roles. So we will work together, you and I, my mind and I, to make sure that we follow through with this sankalpa. So some general instructions in the morning is the start. Then, roughly speaking, a sitting posture which is comfortable, which you can maintain without having to move during the duration, is the right asana. In fact, it helps in not even being aware of the body. Similarly, the sense organs, the mind, and the breathing, prana, all work together just focusing on the sense of touch is a good way to absorb the mind. And having simple, structured breathing is also helpful. Deep breaths without any tension, removing the tension from the body. All these are helpful steps. And finally, an instruction to the mind that thinking about the roles, the thoughts come in through three windows: the window of the past, the window of the present, and the window of the future. Please help me close these three windows and just concentrate on myself. So this constitutes the segment 1, which is the preparation. Nididhyasanam, which is segment 2, is to enter into a chamber, enter into a discussion, thinking about the truth of myself as the person. I meditate upon the analogy of electricity powering up an appliance. Here, the entire set of my personality, meaning my body, my disposition, my knowledge of things, my tendencies, my likes and dislikes, everything is the appliance. A very sophisticated functioning appliance. An appliance which works well at times, is non-functional at other times, is changing continuously, and lastly has a function. Just like a fan or an air conditioner, or appliances with functions. Similarly, my body-mind complex also is an appliance with a function. To transact with others, to grow, to be friendly, to protect, and so on. To have relationships, and powering this appliance of mine is I consciousness. This appliance is the instrument through which I interact with the world outside. Both the world outside and my appliance are known to me. It is very much like I am seeing the world through a pair of glasses. Here, both the world outside and the glasses that I'm wearing are objects that I'm aware of. Similarly, I, the conscious principle, the consciousness, is aware of my body-mind appliance, and through it the world outside. I reflect upon the nature of myself, similar to understanding electricity moving through an appliance. I find that I, the consciousness, is not part of the body. It enlivens the body. It sustains the body. And dissolves the body for new experiences from one life to the other. This consciousness is not limited by the body-mind complex, like the electricity is not limited by the appliance. The electricity does not cease to be if the appliance becomes non-functional. Similarly, I reflect on the point that I, the conscious principle, does not cease to be if the body and mind become non-functional. Like electricity, I have an independent existence. I reflect upon the sheer truth of this. I am, and I am aware without any condition. So this seeing the truth about myself through examples, through the teaching, is nididhyasana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in essence, the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which we are reviewing and will soon finish it, is to sketch out this manner of dhyanam. And so we went through some specifics of that, where the initial verses of the 6th chapter were to establish the general principles of starting meditation. So this is what's called samanya sadhanam. The samanya sadhanam also are sensible in the manner that if you are very disturbed in your daily life, then do not expect the meditation to be effective, because your mind will be traveling and so on and so forth. So it's very obvious that this is what's talked about. And to make sure that the samanyam, so that your mind is absorbed and so on, there is a method to do that. So if you do have a disturbed life, if there are things happening in your life that are disturbing, then there is a way to improve on it. It's not as though you are lost. You just have to be more patient, that's all. So, I think that it's very interesting. One thing to keep in mind as we study Vedanta is that you are already victorious. Victorious in the sense of gaining freedom. It's not as though you are. So this fight that you are. This is exactly the very essence of Bhagavad Gita as well. So it is not as though it's not an equal side between good and bad. It is that you're already done. You are already free, but you just don't realize this. So the reason I'm bringing it out is that if there are disturbances in your mind, the disturbances in your life, then you just have to wait it out. Your sense of peace and freedom and so on is yours. You don't have to acquire it. It's not as though, and this is exactly how our struggles in life are. We think that I'm not peaceful, somehow I have to get peace from outside or somewhere. No. The very nature of the Atma is peace and peacefulness. So if you just allow the disturbances to quieten down by themselves or to help it quieten down. So be brave, be confident about it. That's the essence of what the teaching is. That it is yours. And so go for it. Don't be shy about claiming this word claiming is a very good word that Swami Paramarthananda has started to use, and I like it a lot. So what he's been saying in some of his talks, for example, is that you have a right for freedom. Claim it. Don't be shy about it. It is yours. It is already your own nature. And so that is the essence of the meditation also, that the general principles of quietening your mind down, just wait it out. In some ways, it is Swami Tattvavedananda, I think that's his way of expressing this. And it was very useful. He says, I look upon my mind as a child. And so it just proposes, I think, I don't like this, let's do this, that person disturbs me, situations are not good, and so on. It's like a child just crying out. And you have to reason with the child and say, no, it'll be okay, it'll be okay. No, it won't be okay, it won't be okay. So the child is making noise, this, that, or the other. Finally, you have to say, you know what? Let them cry it out. Let them cry it out. You just, so the attitude towards a child is very interesting, where you know what is good for you. You know what is to be right. The child doesn't understand it, just be quiet. You will be helpful to make it quiet. Similarly, your own mind. To view your own mind means that it has got its own likes and dislikes from the past. There's a lot of stuff going on. And it complains that, and then you approach it from the standpoint of patience and firmness and the fact that it is yours. Then after a while the child quietens down. And, it doesn't say sorry or anything, but just quietens down. And you also accept it. So this is the principle of the general, samanya sadhanam. So we went through that. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but Lord Krishna talked about how to quieten the mind down. Just lead a balanced life, and so that's important, that you have a balanced life of things and so on, and make your mind quieter. If you want to do this, if you don't want to do it, then fine, it's okay. But if you want to do that, how? Then this is the way. So this is number one. Then comes the specific preparation for meditation. And the specific preparation is one we were just doing in the meditation, which is, and this is where the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga becomes very useful, where, so yama, niyama. So the yama and niyama, according to Patanjali, are very close to the samanya jnanam. That's how you have to quieten the mind down. And I think one of the one of the things that I find very useful in my life that I can, and I'm sure that you have the same thing, is that if you have some disturbances in your life, you can make it a lot better if you engage yourself in just doing things that are necessary. That the situation demands that some work has to be done, then food has to be cooked, clothes have to be washed, some friends have to be visited, your grandchildren needs your time, your children need some time, whatever it is, spouse, friends, etc. So you can easily distinguish between things that are necessary to be done versus things that you are proposing yourself. You have enough time and you say, what should I do? And let's do this, and so on. So when there are disturbances in your life, then the one thing you can do is to engage yourself in doing things that are necessary, are required by according to the situation, and just focus on it. If you do that, you find your mind really quietens down much more effectively. You're just busy working. And don't worry about the future, the past, and this, that, or the other. So there, in the conduct of your life in this manner, here the study of the structure of the Ishvara's creation is very useful. Very useful. I would say probably the more important thing in our life is to know that there is a structure for this life. There is someone in charge. Things are happening for a reason. This is what is captured by the word prarabdha. So the prarabdha karma means that things happen for a reason. And so to bring in Ishvara is a very important part in your life. Swami Paramarthananda was giving a very beautiful example on this. He was saying, it was a real life case. He has some students in Chennai, one of which was an elderly couple that were having some health problems. And their son lives somewhere in North India, in New Delhi or somewhere, quite a while, far away. So the couple, I think, I forget whether it was the wife or the husband, they were going through some surgery, and they were a little concerned about it, what will happen, and so on. And so their son called them and said, do you want me to come to help you during this process? So they said, we might, but I think we can get by without it. It's okay. So the son said, listen, mom and dad, you go through this surgery yourself, because I also have a family and so on, but I'll tell you what, the moment there is a problem and you need me, I will fly out in a second. Okay, so please have that assurance that I am thinking of you and I will be glad to come and visit you and help you anytime you want it. So this couple told Swamiji, he says, it's very interesting. That phone call did a lot. Because he says, up till now, we were not sure whether the son would, because he had already had his own life, he's got a wife, kids, and so on and so forth. But he says that the assurance that he could be with us on a time of need was exactly what we wanted. He says that we felt very comfortable with the surgery, and it turns out they didn't need him. So Swamiji said, you know something? This is the promise of the understanding of Ishvara. Very beautiful point. What it means is that if you recognize the presence of Ishvara in your life, which you should, because this is all pre-planned, then you tell Ishvara that if I'm in a serious problem, will you please help me? And Ishvara says yes. And so I cannot tell you in my life also how much this has been helpful to me. I don't feel alone anymore. It's not as though, I've got to do things, what's going to take care of it. Problems are there, nothing's have changed, but it's my attitude towards listening to it that's made, dealing with them that has made all the difference. I find that whatever it is happens. It is the right one. Right now, actually, it's just in the last couple of days when I was just talking to Andreas about it, that there's some changes coming up in this classroom. And it could be that we may be out of here, we don't have another place to go to. I would have said that probably a few years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, that would have worried me, But you know what, yesterday also when I got the news from a couple of people that we may have to change and so on and so forth, I said, whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens, Ishvara. And things will happen to the right way. Why should I worry about it? Gone. I just nipped it in the bud. Things haven't changed, nothing will happen, but my attitude towards has completely changed. So I would say one of the things that we should really do is to bring Ishvara in our life through study, because it is a truth, it's just that we don't recognize it. And abdicate worry and so on and so forth to let them worry about it. Why should I take about it? Similarly, in our aim for seva, sometimes you feel that, are we going to do the right thing? There's things that are happening. I'll do my best and whatever the results are will be taken care of. Don't worry about it. So this whole teaching of the Karma Yoga and so on and so forth was just to bring out this point that really do not worry, it will be okay. Now focus in on the task at hand. The task at hand is to recognize your essential freedom in your life. And the issue is that even though that is the truth, as we were discussing with some of you that were in the earlier class, the issue is that I don't accept it. I have doubts about it. Even though I am essentially free already, but I fail to see it. Why? Because I'm so busy worrying, so busy working, looking for the future, that I miss the very essence of it. So the fundamentals of meditation, once again, going back to the subject matter, is some general preparation, which includes having a balanced mind by bringing Ishvara into our lives. This is an important one. Then, so this is the yama niyama. And then going through the other stages of the Ashtanga Yoga, and just in our case also, is the specific steps for meditation. And I would say probably the most important one is to carve out a space and time every morning in your day to do a focused meditation. And that is, spend some time reviewing the person that you are, not the roles that you are playing. That means be on your own. Just be quiet and alone. And here, just to give you a reference point, Um, for example, in the verse number 10. So, verses number 1 through 9 of the 6th chapter was the general preparation. Okay? Verse number 1 through 9 is the general preparation. And again, so the method that is being used here is that there is a focused introduction to the preparation and a focused introduction to Nididhyasanam, and then some commentary about it later on, so to strengthen it. So for example, on the general preparation, it is from verses number 1 through 9, and then again from 16 and 17, which we will see later. So anyway, that was the general preparation. Then the specific preparation is from verses number 10 through 15. So so that was the reference I was looking for. In verse number 10, there's a word called ekaki. So the whole verse is yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. So the word ekaki is there. So ekaki means remaining alone. So this is an important thing as a direction. So I think what should think about is that really we came into this life by ourselves. And we have our own separate future, apart from others. And so what that means is that we should be alone and learn to live alone. So this tendency that I need to have company always, fine for your for your enjoyment and so on. But that is not the truth. You are okay the way you are. This is the problem. I don't think I'm okay the way I am alone. So I always need somebody to help me out. And yes, for some essential things like going to groceries, you need Safeway. To travel, you need a car, so therefore you have to buy it. All those, let's not talk about that. That's the essential things. But I'm talking about from an emotional, truthful, philosophical reason. The more you discover the beauty of your own self, because you are actually never alone. You and Ishvara are always together. So when we say alone, means you are actually never away from the presence of Ishvara. Because you are not there as a separate person away from Ishvara anyway. You are nothing but Brahman. But you cannot. So as long as you have a feeling that I need somebody else to help me out, there you are still not on your way. So this just to digress for a second. There is a book that Raj had told me about. There is a class that Swami Paramarthananda recently taught, called Ashtavakra Gita. And so I've been reviewing some of the classes from that, very nicely done by Swami Paramarthananda. So one thing that is relevant to what we are doing that I'll bring out is there are three stages. There you can segment it any way you want to, but one way to segment our lives is to see that there are three stages that human beings go through. The first stage is world dependence. So world dependence means that as you grow up from being a child and so on and so forth, you are dependent on others for your happiness. Your mom and dad and your friends, your teachers, your families, friends, etc., etc. And the problem with that is that it is unreliable. It is limited. And you do the best you can in coming up with the right mixture of people that can support you and so on, but essentially you are treading on hollow grounds. Nothing really there's no assurance that things will, and ultimately even your own health. You're depending upon your body and your mind, etc. So this is what is called this is what is called world dependent. Then the second stage is God dependence. And God dependence is the essence of Karma Yoga, which is exhaustively talked about in the Bhagavad Gita. This actually is the main topic of the Bhagavad Gita. I wouldn't say the main topic, but one of the main topics of the Bhagavad Gita is Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga cannot be without an understanding of God, of Ishvara. That there is a two-way partnership, that there is prarabdha, that things are given to you. There is a structure. The whole thing runs in a very... Unpredictability also is predictable. The overall sense is predictability. And to see that, because God is not a single person who is going to sit in front of you. It is everything. Every aspect of your life, every interaction is nothing but the presence of God. And so the second stage of the move of is God dependence. That also has problems, because it's a little better than world dependence, but not much better. Why? Because the God dependence also assumes you to be a limited person. So both the first two stages, world dependence and God dependence, rely upon you as a jiva. So the starting assumption for both the first two stages, not the starting, but the essence of the assumption of the first two stages is that you are a limited person. You are a little better off as a limited person because you are not completely at bay. You at least now have a sense of that there is a support it is there. So like for example, the example of this this son who said that, I'll, I'll definitely try to come and help you. That also is not 100% certain, because it's very possible that he may not be able to reach in time. He may be delayed or have an accident or something like this. So there also, the reliance on the son, which was a example of God dependence, is also not completely reliable, because your prarabdha may be such that you cannot completely rely on God. He's doing the best he can, but it's very possible you may not succeed. So this is the second stage. Then comes the third stage, which is the final stage, which is called dependence on the self. And the dependence on the self has to pass through God dependence. You cannot go straight away from world dependence to self-dependence. This is kind of like, they are like three spokes of not spokes, but what is it called? The steps, the stages of the steps. So it's like you cannot go from the bottom to the top without having an intermediate step. And the God dependence, the study of Ishvara, the study of God, slowly transcends the fact that God is not different from you. In fact, it is, you are not different from God. You are just an expression of God. In other words, just like the analogy would be that if there was a wave of the ocean who feels alienated. So supposing the water has some consciousness, let's say, for a minute. So the wave of the ocean will feel very alienated and very insecure and very vulnerable, because it knows it's dying. It's not going to stay there forever. And while he's alive, there's other waves that are bothering him. This is the situation. So then some kind of a guru wave comes in and says, you are thinking wrongly. Okay, this is just a play which is going on, and you don't have to worry about it. You are protected by the ocean, who is the God. Don't you see that? He says, first of all, I don't see it. Then you say, don't you worry about it. Even if you were to disappear, you will come back again as another wave. You'll always be there. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just relax. See the relationship with the ocean. So he says, where is the ocean? He says, well, everything is the ocean. He says, but that doesn't help me very much. It gives me a little bit more solace, but not. But he says that once you understand that the essence of the whole ocean and the essence of you as a wave is really the same. It is the water. In fact, you are the whole ocean. There's no difference between the ocean and you. Then it is complete freedom. Because as water, I am not vulnerable at all. Nothing will affect me. I'm always there. So these are the three stages that human beings have to go through. And so very nicely put together by Swami Paramarthananda's explanation of this book. So then going back to the 6th chapter, the verses number 10 through 15 are the specific preparation for meditation. This is not nididhyasanam yet, this is just dhyanam. So he talks about nirashihi, apparigraha, etc. So apparigraha means that parigraha means to possess, to store. And so apparigraha, it's a very interesting concept really, is that we have a feeling in our life that I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I feel insecure. I don't have enough money. I need to earn some more. So you say, well, how much do you need? No, I don't know, but I need more than what I have now. It is very difficult to say I have enough. In fact, what happens is if you have enough, you start worrying about keeping it. You know, that's certainly, should I put it in the stock market? No, the stock market is... So the parigraha is full of worries. Either not having enough or having more than enough, it is a problem. And here Swami Dayanand used to joke about it. He says, we Indians need to learn much more from the Westerners, especially Americans. Because you ask an Indian, and have you have enough made money? He says, no, I think I have enough, but I have 2 or 3 children. What if they don't do well? So I want to make sure that I leave them some money. Okay, so you keep on working and give them something to the kids. You ask the kids, they'll say, we don't need it. Don't worry about us. You just spend it. But you have a feeling that I want to leave it something for the kids. Okay, fine, you leave it. Then you think it'll end there? No. Grandchildren. I need to leave something for the grandchildren. So Swamiji says this is a problem amongst Indians. If you look at Americans, do you know the average American saving is so low? They don't think about their retirement or anything. That's not true for Indians. We just keep on saving. The Americans just enjoy it, Westerners. They don't save a lot of money. Swamiji says, I love this. This is a very good thing to do. Just live it and, and if you suffer, that's your problem, but generally speaking, you'll be okay. So this is what is called apparigraha. Apparigraha means don't spend all your time worrying about the future. Think more about the specifics of what you have to do today. So all of those things we'll talk about as the specific instructions for meditation. Then same thing on number 11, 12, and then samam kaya shirogrivam dharayan achalam sthiraha, etc. All those, that's prashantatma vigatibhi, number 14. Then yunjaneva, now last one, yunjaneva sadatmanam yogi niyatam manasaha shantim nirvanam paramam matstham adhigacchati. And so he says, in doing this preparation, may you just be absorbed in the self, and this is just the preparation. We haven't really started the main ones yet, but this is just the specific preparation. So this was the second stage of the meditation. Then number 16 and 17, as I mentioned before, go back to the general preparation again. Na atyash, and so what it means is general preparation, and then yuktahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, etc. What it gives is the fact that moderation in things is a very good way to lead your life. Moderation. Moderation means that don't fast too much. Don't eat too much. You need to just have a balanced life towards eating. Same thing on sleeping, where you feel that you need to get 8 hours. You may not need 8 hours. Some people think that, I can get by 4 hours. No. So you need to find a moderation in the time of sleeping as well. Same thing in terms of getting nutrition, vitamins, protein, carbohydrates. You go into these diets called keto or something where you say absolutely not necessary, not necessary. In fact, in these couple of sessions that we had with Swami, from the doctor, Ayurvedic doctor, so there these questions came up. He is a very knowledgeable Ayurvedic doctor. So he was talking, he was asked questions about dieting and fasting, actually, not dieting, but fasting. This was a question done. So he said that fasting is good if you have a specific problem. But he says over fasting is not good. You should just do normal. So there's all kinds of, one of the latest things is this intermittent fasting, where you eat at 6 o'clock in the evening and then again at noon the next day. So you now have 18 hours of nothing, absolutely. I was talking to somebody, I said, so what do you do for the morning? He says, nothing, just water. I says, how about tea? He says, I miss the tea a lot, but I cannot have it, because tea means that you put a little bit of milk in it, which, so that's overdoing things in my opinion. You should just have, anyway, so moderation is the, what is advised here. Then comes the section where the nididhyasanam is now started. Right? So this is what the real stuff is. So there and one comment on the Patanjali Yoga, which I'm just revising, we've already done through this. So there's an interesting discussion about Vedantic meditation and the steps to it and the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. So what is given by our acharyas is that the Ashtanga Yoga by Patanjali is beautifully done for preparation. So asanam and pratyahara and dhyanam and all of this finally leading up to samadhi is very, very well done. And we adopt portions of that for our. But the knowledge and the end point of that we don't agree with. Why is it that we don't agree with? Because the samadhi that Patanjali talked about was Chitta Nirodha, means thoughtlessness. And thoughtlessness is not freedom. Thoughtlessness is temporary freedom, not the real freedom. And in fact, you already have thoughtlessness in deep sleep. So if thoughtlessness was the ultimate freedom, you would be free. But you don't get free. As soon as you get up, you're bound again. So the real freedom is whether or not there are thoughts or not. What is the nature of the thoughts? Who is impelling the thoughts? This is freedom. So, in the analogy of the ocean and the waves that we were talking about, if the wave says, other waves bother me. They bother me. Any time you have this huge breaker that comes in, it threatens to just overwhelm me. And I can't live with this. Life is just too troublesome. So he says, what do you want to do? So is there some way to quieten all the waves down? He says, well, maybe. All right, here's what you do. You go into an ocean lagoon where there are no waves at all. He says, that sounds good. Is there a place like this? And he says, yes. You're going to go to San Francisco Bay. In San Francisco Bay, there's not a lot of, it's a very quiet place. There may be a few waves and so on. He says, I love that. Wonderful. Good. Then comes the wind. And some waves come up. Then he says, well, you told me they'll be quiet. He says, well, it's only, I'm just relatively telling you. Because the nature of water is, it's going to come up. So this is foolishness. What you have to tell the wave is, please do not have your identity with your waveness, but the identity should be with water. And if the waveness comes in and goes, it doesn't matter, because your identity is now at a larger, more fundamental way, which is the water. And so don't let waves disturb you. The waves disturb you only because you only think of yourself as a wave, not as water. But if you think of yourself as a water, that is true freedom. So in our way of thinking, samadhi is the beginning, not the end. And you don't even need to go all the way up to samadhi. If you just do some temporary quietening of the mind, that's enough. You don't have to go through this 1-week course in vipassana because that doesn't lead anything. You'll come back from it, and what are you going to do? Now you will be more upset that your thoughts are bothering you and so on and so forth. Not possible. But the true freedom is to call out the bluff of thoughts. So then, so the rest of this is to then move towards the nididhyasanam. And so this is why the 6th chapter is only given after a lot of teaching. Otherwise, this meditation would be the very first chapter of the Gita or the 2nd chapter of the Gita. No. It is given after a lot of teaching because nididhyasanam requires teaching. Nididhyasanam does not generate new knowledge, as we have discussed it already before, and it does not create freedom. It reveals the freedom that you already have. Because your doubts were such that you could not really could not accept your freedom. You could not experience your freedom, if I can use that word. But Nididhyasanam reveals the freedom, allows you. So this is what is called, so these are interesting things to use. Nididhyasanam does not give you jnanam, but Nididhyasanam gives you jnana phalam, the fruits of the knowledge. And so I'll end this, and I think I would say we'll just have one or two more classes on this, and then we are pretty much done. We need to discuss what to do after this, which I'll bring up in a minute. But anyway, the final thing that we need to talk about is the beautiful example presented by Swami Paramarthananda on what the essence of Nididhyasanam is. And that was your being absorbed in a narrative which is totally different from what you were used to before. So it is not thoughtlessness, but to be absorbed in a plot that is totally different. And so going to a movie was a great example, I thought. Absolutely a marvelous example. And so if you recall, this is what impressed me so much. It's really very helpful. Is that when you go to a movie, your identity is as a moviegoer. Moviegoer means you're fumbling for the money, for the talk, for the buying a ticket, popcorn, sitting down, shutting off your cell phone. This is what is called the moviegoer. And then you have some ads that are coming up, and you're looking around, you're talking to your friend next door. This is the moviegoer. And then the movie starts. And now you transition from a moviegoer to a movie watcher to a movie participant. So what happens is a beautiful thing to see, how you transition. First of all, you're a moviegoer. Then you transition into a movie watcher. When you're watching the movie, remnants of your moviegoerness and the movie are both merged together. You're watching them and saying, okay, this is where I am, this is a movie, and you might even start by criticizing the movie. That, is this the way to start? It's very confusing. I find many of the movies are very confusing in the beginning, because some scene starts and you don't know how to put it along with the rest of the narrative. But if the movie is good and you like it, you get so absorbed that you forget your moviegoerness completely. Your identity as a person is completely gone, and you become one with the movie itself. I think this is just absolutely marvelous example. This is what needs to be done in Nididhyasana. And what that means is that we enter into Nididhyasanam as a human being, as a jiva, with our thoughts about who I am, what my problems are, my aspirations are, etc., etc. Then, if you prepare yourself well, as we have talked about, through Samanya Ganam, Samatvam, and the specific preparation of being ekaki, alone, all those kinds of things, then you recall the plot of who you are, what it means, that you are the electricity, you are not the appliance. And the electricity has total freedom. Ultimately, the Atma is not even bound by time. And this has to be well appreciated. And it has, and you have, this is another thing to go. You have to grow to understand this. In the analogy of the movie, supposing there is a kind of a movie which is for adults. There may not be explicit sex scenes, but supposing there are some talks about adult themes, and you have a 6-year-old sitting there, you think that person is going to really appreciate what's going on? They'll see the same things, but they don't understand. But if you've led an adult life and you have some humor about sexual situations and so on and so forth, then you sort of get absorbed into the beauty of it or whatever. So similarly here also, I think what we need to do is to grow where you can. Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, let me tell you, Vedanta is the most adult joke you can think of. It is the most sophisticated joke, and the laughter from it lasts forever. But we need to grow enough to understand the subtlety of the plot. So this then is the essence of the stages of meditation that was talked about, very well presented in the 6th chapter. And so this is almost towards the end. I'll take at least one class, and maybe I'll just finish it off. If not, maybe 2 classes to summarize chapter 6. And then let me just say a prayer and then ask for any questions from you, and then I'll talk about where do we go from here. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.